But today we have to talk about what are Cloud9 doing. And I mean that, seriously, what are they doing? Because here's a tweet from MC. Unfortunately, Cloud9 has decided to not move forward with myself. I am willing to explore any and all options, whether head coach or assistant coach, and even collegiate if the situation is beneficial for both parties, willing to relocate as well. Meaning that Cloud9 has gotten rid of MC, their coach. Now, as far as I can tell, or perhaps anyone else, this makes absolutely no sense. And I'm sure there are some reasons for why Cloud9 have done this, but let's just go through why this is such a terrible idea. The first thing is, it's been reported quite widely by a lot of people that Cloud9 were looking to downsize and kind of strip the whole thing back, go for a bit of a cheaper option this year. And MC is the literal perfect coach for that. I mean, in terms of anyone in Valorant at all across the entire globe, no one else has shown as well as MCE that on a kind of more limited budget or, with lesser known players, that he can get something out of them. It happened last year with the Cloud9 team we saw last year, where they dropped Ye and Vanity for two completely unknowns in Rooney and Jake to the tier 1 scene, and of course for most of the year, Cloud9 were playing fantastic Valorant. Now obviously it didn't come about in terms of qualifying for Masters Tokyo or Champs, but they were very close to being NRG in that game to qualify, and considering where everyone's expectations after they made those roster changes were, they far exceeded expectations for the entire year. And of course, MCE did it before as well with the Guard, who were 5 relatively unknown players and managed to win the entirety of NA and go to Masters Reykjavik. Now again, it didn't go great at Masters Reykjavik, but in terms of taking a team of unknowns or, not that they're lesser players, but players who perhaps don't have that experience, who maybe aren't expected to do so well, MCE has shown on multiple occasions that he can take a team like that and take them to the literal very, very top of, the entire region, which is an incredible achievement that I don't think MCE gets enough credit for, probably because, it didn't end up going that well overall. So Cloud9 are getting rid of the coach who perhaps it makes the most sense of anyone to be the coach for how they want to go about this year. But the thing that's quite annoying about this is the timing, because of course Cloud9's last game was losing in LCQ to Leviathan. That was a long time ago at this point, right? So Cloud9 have had more than enough time to kind of consider what they wanted to do for the next season, which leads me to believe that if, they just didn't want MCE at all, he probably would have been gone after LCQ. That would seemingly make the most sense. But instead it's happened now, but the problem is, at this point, obviously Cloud9 and most other teams have been doing trials for players, and I assume that MCE has been a big hand in doing those trials, right? Figuring out what players he thinks might fit his system and all of that, figuring out what the next roster is going to be, and so now he's kind of been left in a position where, guess what? All of those other teams that maybe did let go of their coach or, had already kind of, rumored to have let go of their coach, now all of a sudden they've probably already been trialing with some other coaches. They've probably already maybe even found someone that they want to be their next head coach instead. And so it's just left MC behind the ball in terms of, now he's now scrambling to find a team. And this is true for players that Cloud9 were trialing as well. Here's a tweet from EG Screwface, who reportedly was trialing for C9 under the name ManBearPig. This does not bode well for ManBearPig, as in because MC's gone, that means that all the players that MCU was trialing and perhaps about to bring into Cloud9 are now also probably going to be screwed, because there's going to be, a new leadership coming into Cloud9 who might not want these players. So, it's a real difficult situation for MC and all of these players who perhaps thought, hey, I'm going to sign with Cloud9, we're just waiting on the details. And now all of a sudden, no, you're not signing with Cloud9. And again, they found themselves in that similar situation where now a lot of other teams maybe have already done their trials or, are kind of getting close to the end of their trialing period. And now these players have just been left out again and might miss out on tier 1 entirely, where they could have had this great opportunity. And this at this point is becoming classic Cloud9, where obviously we saw them last year drop Ye and Vanity after just 2 games, which kind of left those 2 players completely out in the cold because of the rules last year, meant that they couldn't join another tier 1 team, and so they just ended up, having to slug out in tier 2, despite both of them probably being, worthy of playing in tier 1. they just got absolutely screwed by the org, and now we're seeing, multiple other people just be screwed by this org because they can't decide what to do. I have no idea what's going on, but this is becoming a bit of a theme at this point for Cloud9, that you can't trust this org whatsoever, right? It's like Jack from Cloud9 just, comes back off holiday or whatever, looks at the balance sheet and goes, whoa, what's going on? We're paying these guys this much? Whoa, get rid of them, right? And everyone's like, whoa, but we were about to assemble the team. No, don't get rid of them. And that's it. And that seems how it seems to work at this org, apparently. And so now, who knows what Cloud9 will do? It seems like an absolute mess. They're behind the ball already. There are some options out there, like FNS, and maybe some will be at the height of everyone's list, but apparently they want to go super cheap on the roster. You wouldn't think that those guys maybe would be the cheap options, but I guess we'll see. But if you're a coach or a player right now, can you trust this org, is what I would say to you. And honestly, my opinion is probably not. It seems like you just don't know what this org is going to do, and if they think maybe that you're costing them a bit too much for what you're worth, then you're probably just going to be gone with very little notice. But then, in the process of recording this video, this came out as well, where Fnatic tweeted this following our Valorant team's outstanding achievements during the 2024 campaign. Coach Jacob Minnie Harris has made the personal decision to step down from the head coaching position. The decision has come after careful consideration from Minnie to explore options for a better work-life balance, and is one we wish to support in full. While we are in active discussions with Minnie to potentially look at a new role within the coaching team, we must also look outward in the pursuit of finding top talent to step into the role of head coach. All of Fnatic wishes to thank Minnie for his amazing work in the role of head coach during our Valorant journey to date. We're excited to support him in his next adventure. And Minnie himself tweeted out that it was around 6 months ago he noted that there wouldn't be a good chance of re-signing with Fnatic in search of a better work-life balance. He does confirm that conversations are going on with Fnatic to, kind of maybe figure something out with some other role, but his contract is ended, so we'll be looking for offers from other teams as well. Ideally, he wants to be an assistant coach or a GM, or another role if it made sense. And he just thanks Fnatic here and says that, yeah, he wants to be more Jacob Harris and not Minnie 24/7, which does make a lot of sense. And we've seen this from multiple coaches. Coaching is a very thankless task, right? You do a ton of work for, something that you have very little control over the actual results a lot of the time, and when things go wrong, you get a lot of the blame, and when things go right, you don't get much of the credit. So coaching is a very, very thankless task in general, and so it makes sense, and for Minnie to have this kind of thing. I mean, to be honest, if I'm another team and I'm seeing that Minnie wants to be a GM, I mean, is there anyone else who's proved their scouting ability more in this game than Minnie? I would say probably not. So I would definitely be considering that as a strong option if I was from another team, or even Fnatic themselves, right? And having him be that general manager role, because I think he would be a very, very good GM. And so there's a lot of interesting things going on in Valorant, and who knows, maybe these two stories will collide, and MC will end up at Fnatic. I mean, obviously he is a pretty high name profile coach, and Fnatic obviously will be a very sought after job for a lot of head coaches out there. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting time to see how these different things shake out. But the overall message from this video is that Cloud9 are a mess.